candidates à la direction. Nous allons entendre chacun d'entre eux. Petit rappel à toutes celles et tous ceux qui sont admissibles à voter, la date limite pour voter dans la course à la direction aujourd'hui est 18h à l'heure locale, 19h heure de l'Est. Vous pouvez voter à l'adresse vote.npd.ca en utilisant les identifiants qui vous ont été envoyés par courriel.
We may not, and now for our showcase. The order of our showcase was done by random draw. We'll have Avi Lewis, followed by Tony McQuail, then Tanille Johnston, then Rob Ashton, and we'll finish with Heather McPherson. Give it up for our leadership contestants, everybody.
My name is Avi Lewis, and I'm running to be leader of the federal NDP.
Ce monde est possible, mais il faut le créer ensemble.
It's not about me. It's about us. And it's about how we come together and build power together.
This campaign from day one has said we need to do away with the cult of leadership. We need movements. We need militant trade unions, the army of Oregon. We need a common front against rising fascism in our time. And if you
Let's get to work.
Good morning, Winnipeg. My name is Savannah, and I've been the campaign manager for this wild and beautiful operation that you've just caught a glimpse of. The movement to make Avi Lewis the next leader of the NDP. I said yes to this invitation because I needed a sliver of hope. Watching the world around us grow more hostile to everyday people, I was really excited to organize an unapologetically values-driven campaign that puts people first, because I believed that a better world was possible, and now I know that it is. Everything we're doing is done with other people, so I want to bring out some of the incredible organizers that have made this all possible. This is our team, and this is just a few of the people who have propelled this campaign across 30 communities in 9 provinces and territories, sold memberships in 338 out of the 343 ridings, collected donations from over 10,000 people across the country, and signed up over 8,400 volunteers from coast to coast to coast, joining together to become the architects of our shared future. Our campaign has become a gathering place for people who are ready to get out and build the world we deserve ourselves. And we are doing it in the way that it should be done. We're doing it with art and music and laughter and celebration and friendship and with love. It is my absolute honor to introduce 3 of the people who have helped us along the way. We're so grateful to have with us this morning to nominate Avi Lewis, the legendary MP of Winnipeg Centre, Leah Gazan, our next NDP president, Niall Ricardo, and author, activist, and Avi Lewis superfan, Naomi Klein. Please give it up for Leah.
Hello, New Democrats. My name is Leah Gazan, and I am the proud MP for Winnipeg Centre, or as you know, what I like to call it, the center of the universe. We are the home of J.S. Woodsworth, home of the General Strike, and welcome to the place where we are going to elect Avi Lewis as the next leader of the NDP. His campaign has inspired thousands upon thousands of people to come to events, donate their time and money, and join our party. I see a movement, and it's because Avi speaks truth to power and has offered up real solutions like a public option for food and groceries. He understands that gender equality, the right to access safe abortions, and gender-affirming care are bread and butter issues. He stands up for Indigenous rights, human rights, and speaks out against genocide without apology or exception. He is no liberal light. He is a proud democratic socialist. We faced diversity before, and each time we picked ourselves up and we've come back stronger than ever. This is not a city of quitters. We are not a movement of quitters. Avi and I are not quitters, we're fighters. Join us. Let's build a party for the 99% together that will take on the billionaires and win.
Chers amis, chers camarades, je vous parle aujourd'hui avec conviction parce que ce parti, c'est chez moi, c'est chez nous. Depuis que j'ai 18 ans, j'ai vu des membres extraordinaires, le sel de la terre, qui continuent de se battre avec solidarité et espoir. Mais le moment exige plus de nous. Face aux défis qui vivent les gens, on a besoin de croire en notre force collective. Parce que quand on s'organise, qu'on se tient ensemble, qu'on n'a pas peur d'être qui nous sommes vraiment, un parti fier, ancré dans nos valeurs, du côté des gens, il n'y a rien qu'on ne peut pas accomplir. Et c'est ça que propose Avi. Des solutions ambitieuses, oui, mais surtout une capacité de rassembler, de mobiliser, de nous amener à croire à nouveau en ce que nous pouvons faire ensemble. Avant tout, cela signifie que la transformation ne viendra jamais d'un parti seul. Elle naîtra d'une convergence vivante entre les mobilisations de rue, les luttes syndicales, les mouvements communautaires, la résistance autochtone, les réseaux internationaux de solidarité. Et oui, les espaces institutionnels lorsqu'ils peuvent être conquis. C'est cette convergence qui incarne Avi Lewis. Du Québec, cela ressonne profondément en nous. Nous savons que les véritables acquis ne sont jamais le fruit d'un don, mais d'une lutte acharnée. La révolution tranquille, les droits syndicaux, l'éducation publique, les soins de santé universels, les avancées féministes. Tout cela est né de la lutte et non d'un consensus. C'est pourquoi nous devons nous rallier à Avi, car ce moment historique n'appelle pas à la prudence. Il exige du courage. Alors soyons à l'auteur, soyons fiers et avançons ensemble. Avec Avi, tout devient possible. Merci.
Thank you, Niall, Leah, Savannah. Thank you to everyone on this stage and in this room and watching across the country who have helped power this amazing campaign. Now, many of you already know that I'm not just a super fan. I happen to be married to Avi Lewis and have been, for 30 years. So I can tell you a few things. I can tell you with quite a bit of authority how kind he is, how funny, how generous. I can tell you what an amazing father he is, the way he just makes the perfect breakfast and lunch every morning for our son every time he's in town. I can tell you that he is obsessed with the Blue Jays and has what is to me a completely inexplicable love for Dungeons and Dragons. I knew that would kill. I can also tell you that Avi is the most dedicated son to his parents, Stephen and Michelle, who I know are watching from Toronto right now. Contrary to the opinion of a very long line of doctors, Stephen Lewis was not going to miss this weekend for the world. I know that it can seem strange to people who aren't that political, but our lives are completely intertwined with politics, with left ideas, with social movements, and there is no way I would rather live. For 30 years, Avi and I have been having a never-ending conversation about how we win the thriving world that we need. One that prioritizes art and friendship and kids and freedom and the health of the living world, and how to beat the disaster capitalists who are standing in our way. Right now, in Canada, the way we win that thriving, beautiful world is we elect Avi Lewis, the leader of the NDP. My friends, it's time to reweave the left in Canada, connect all of our issues to each other in a common story and into a common front. We need to remind the hardworking people in this country that there are real alternatives to the far-right politics of hate and division and the so-called centrist policies of oligarchy and austerity. As you've heard, Avi's campaign is about so much more than him. It is an invitation to rebuild the NDP into a bold and exciting force from the bottom up for organizing in Canada, something that we desperately need if we're going to wrest this country back from the bankers and corporate overlords who have been dampening our dreams for far too long. This campaign is about creating an NDP that belongs to each and every one of us, a welcoming and sturdy party that will bring our movements together, movements for Indigenous sovereignty and labor rights and climate justice and racial and gender and disability justice. Together, we are going to help each other dream big once again. So today I am asking you to stand with me and thousands of others to nominate Avi and rebuild this party with radical and joyful energy. One phone call, one event, one canvas, and yes, one donation at a time. This has been one hell of a campaign. Relentlessly positive, hardworking, creative, and so much fun. We are at the finish line, and now we are going to wake this country up together. Now it is my absolute pleasure to bring to the stage my partner in life and in troublemaking, the next leader of the federal NDP, Avi Lewis. Where is he?
Bonjour tout le monde! Merci Naomi, merci Savannah, Leah, Niall et chaque membre de notre équipe, tous les bénévoles, donateurs et donatrices à notre campagne. This has been a 7-month marathon at the speed of a sprint, and it has been the thrill of a lifetime to run it with all of you. And now we're so close to the finish line and the start of a much bigger race to bring our party back from the wilderness and into the heart of Canadian political life once again. This campaign has played out against the backdrop of one of the bleakest times we have ever lived. War and genocide, economic attacks and threats of annexation, and for all Canadians, the grinding everyday emergency of the cost of living out of control. And yet, our journey across this vast land has been punctuated with hope. The daily victories of care and compassion, the seeds of a brighter future planted by workers and neighbors in the soil of struggle. Here's a few memories that will stay with me. The New Flyer bus factory right here in Winnipeg. A Unifor shop floor bursting with pride and camaraderie, making electric and hybrid buses with Canadian steel for use across the country. The plant has $13.5 billion in back orders, everyone shining with the promise of a clean transportation revolution waiting to happen. The Northern Community Land Trust in Whitehorse, where local housing activists have built homes that young families with modest incomes can buy, most of them under $300,000. Homes that can never be flipped, only sold for the original price plus inflation. That's true non-market housing. Un rassemblement passionnant à Montréal, avec de la musique, de la joie, une ferveur politique et 400 personnes qui ont chanté pour redonner vie à notre parti au Québec. A conversation with a 40-year veteran of the oil patch beside an abandoned well in Edmonton. We talked about how the disaster of these dangerous, tapped-out wells could turn into a reclamation boom. Decades of good jobs for oil and gas workers in cleaning up these sites rather than drilling new ones. All paid for with the swollen profits of oil companies if the law of polluter pays was actually enforced. And that's what fires me up. This country is filled with wise and caring people who are already hard at work, building the solutions we need to all the crises we face. And that includes all of you dedicated NDPers who have never abandoned hope despite all the predictions of our demise. Our campaign, as you know, has been powered by a set of simple principles that we believe are key to our collective comeback. First, we stay laser-focused on the cost of living crisis, the everyday emergency of just getting by in an impossible economy. We are the only party that criticizes capitalism. So we're the only party that can tell Canadians the truth about why everything is so expensive. And you know what it is. A handful of giant corporations dominate every sector of our economy. Ces cartels corporatifs fixent les prix, contrôlent les marchés et profitent de la crise du coût de la vie. Donc le système fonctionne exactement comme il a été conçu. Il concentre la richesse et le pouvoir entre les mains d'une petite élite. Second, in the face of inequality at an all-time high, we are done nibbling around the edges. It's time to fight for solutions that are actually as big as the crises we face. Solutions that are popular, practical, and can inspire Canadians in these incredibly hard times. From head-to-toe healthcare, to fare-free transit, to tuition-free education, we can fire up our base and build a bigger coalition. We do it by fighting for the big wins that would truly change everyday people's lives. It doesn't mean we can win them tomorrow, but I'll tell you what it does do. It brings in new organizers from communities already in the struggle. It builds the energy, excitement, and ground game that we need to win. Third, we're not shy about saying the loud part out loud. We're not burying our politics in platitudes. We're communicating with straight talk, grounded in moral clarity. Quand Israël commet un génocide à Gaza, nous appelons les choses par leur nom. When the US and Israel start an illegal and reprehensible war against Iran that sets the world on fire, we say Canada should have absolutely no role in it whatsoever. Fourth, Canadians don't want a two-party system. But we in the NDP need a political offer that cannot be confused with or co-opted by either the Liberals or Conservatives. We're at a high-stakes moment in human history. Canadians know we are at a crossroads, and we need a clear vision for how we get through this, how we can protect Canada from Trump and all the chaos and toxic slop he generates, how we can come out stronger, more stable, more secure, because that's not where we're headed now. Under the Carney government, the path ahead is paved with unprecedented corporate welfare for the billionaire Epstein class and more insecurity for the rest of us. C'est la voie sur laquelle les libéraux et les conservateurs nous entraînent en adoptant ensemble à Ottawa des projets de loi qui sont vraiment affreux. This agenda doubles down on the past, exporting ever more raw resources. It follows the lead of the US with more pipelines and ballooning military spending. It embraces Silicon Valley's job-killing generative AI with no brakes or meaningful regulation. This is a recipe for a future of continued chaos. Fossil fuels alone destabilize our world in many ways at once. They attract explosive wars. They drive inflation and pain at the pump and beyond, and they accelerate climate breakdown. But there is another path, and it's our job as the NDP to light the way. It's a safer path, one that leads to a calmer, less volatile future. A path that makes common cause with countries around the world that are quickly moving away from the boom and bust roller coaster of oil and gas. Like the UK, which just this week mandated solar panels and heat pumps in every new home build as a response to the oil price shock. For Canada, it's a path on which we harness some of the vast wealth of our nation and use the tool of public ownership to put it to work directly solving the everyday crises we face. That means building houses that families can afford with public developers hiring public construction companies. Tens of thousands of good unionized jobs retrofitting those homes, manufacturing and installing those heat pumps to slash energy bills and emissions at the same time. Public options for groceries, cell phones, and pharmaceuticals, ensuring that working-class Canadians can buy essential goods and services with lower prices and higher wages. In short, it's a vision of the federal government using its power to go after some of the immense undertaxed wealth of this country and put it to use in directly making life easier and more secure for Canadians. It's a path to a Canada where we're happier, healthier, safer, and proud of our role on the international stage. We know how to build power behind this vision because we're already doing it on this campaign. We generate excitement with our bold ideas. We turn that excitement into momentum through organizing. We supercharge our organizing by trusting our base to lead at the riding level. We build back our ground game well in advance of the next election and win more seats. We fling open the doors to the 99% and become once again, as my grandfather David Lewis called it in the 1940s, a political instrument of the people. So friends, for Tommy and David and Ed, for Audrey and Alexa, for Jack and Jagmeet, for all the fighters who came before, Canada needs a strong NDP now more than ever. Let's get to work. Merci tout le monde.
name is Mason Matthew. I'm a 19-year-old university student from Port Coquitlam, British Columbia, and I'm tired. I'm tired of looking out my window every day and seeing a systematic battle being waged against young people in this country. From Doug Ford's OSAP cuts in Ontario, to Houston's government in Nova Scotia taking away educational support for marginalized communities, to Carney's disastrous cuts to services youth rely on, we are tired. We are tired of this moment of austerity we find ourselves in and the lack of real conversation about our priorities. J'ai 19 ans et je suis fatigué. Fatigué de voir la lutte systématique contre nos jeunes dans ce pays. Fatigué de voir des gouvernements qui ne pensent pas lorsqu'ils prennent leurs décisions. We're working hard, but rent is too high. We are told to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, but they seem to be broken. Our economy is made for people like Galen Weston and Jim Pattison, and it's not made for everyday people, and that needs to change. Les jeunes veulent mieux, un avenir où la prospérité est partagée partout. Nous pouvons vivre en harmonie avec la terre, où il y a beaucoup de bons emplois et où le coût de la vie est abordable. Et soyons clairs, ni M. Carney ni M. Poilievre nous offrent cet avenir. Young people want better, a future with prosperity for everyone, not just a few. We want real, systemic, and forward-thinking change now. And that's what drew me into Tony McQuail's bid for leader. He's not just running a campaign, but is leading a paradigm shift for our party and country. As a farmer, he sees the world from a different perspective. It's a different perspective than an elite who works in a high-rise in downtown Vancouver or Toronto. He works with soil every day and feels the impact of ecological collapse and neoliberalism. He understands what Canadians are going through and has a plan to actually address it. Tony has created a policy framework that resonates with people, especially young people. He calls them the 4 R's: representation, regeneration, redistribution, and redesign. Tony a une plateforme transformative pour tout le Canada qui inclut les jeunes. Il les appelle les 4 R. His first R, representation, talks about the need for proportional representation now. His second R, regeneration, is about rebuilding our connection to Mother Nature. Tony sees the nexus that exists between taking care of our planet and building a local economy that works for everyone, including long-lasting jobs for young people at a time we're seeing the highest youth unemployment rate in the longest time I can remember. His third R, redistribution, is about making Canada's wealthiest pay their fair share. As leader, he'll boldly call for a wealth tax to help pay for social programs that young Canadians deserve, such as universal pharmacare and social housing. La redistribution est essentielle parce que nous méritions un avenir où la prospérité est répartie dans tout notre pays. Et Tony le sait. His fourth R, redesign, connects the 3 previous R's together. It calls for a radical change in the way that our economy operates, to rebuild the relationships with each other and the land that liberals and conservatives have destroyed for the entirety of our nation's history. This is the radical change I was looking for in a leadership candidate and what young people are looking for across this country. This is why I support Tony McQuail. Rank Tony McQuail #1 for the sake of my future and for the future of young Canadians across this country. Classez Tony McQuail numéro 1. Merci à tous. Thank you, everyone.
I was born in Pennsylvania. My mother had been a social worker and my father was an accountant. My parents were Quakers, and I was raised to follow the Quaker testimonies of simplicity, peace, integrity, community, equality, and stewardship. I opposed the war in Vietnam, and when I was 16, I provided draft counseling at our local Quaker meeting house. I realized how corrupt and corrupting the U.S. draft was. It and the U.S. tax system fueled the Vietnam War and too damn many since. When I turned 18, I refused to cooperate with the draft. In 1971, age 18, I immigrated to Canada. I worked as a hired hand on a dairy farm. In the summer of '72, I hitchhiked across Canada looking for farmland. In 1973, I bought a rundown farm in Huron County. Fran and I were married on the farm in 1975. The land had been cash cropped and stripped of organic matter, but in 1976, we started farming regeneratively. When we gave to the land gave to us. In 1980, I became a New Democrat. At the time, Ed Broadbent was the only politician promoting realistic solutions like low interest rates and renewable energy. I ran for Parliament in 1980 and 4 other times federally. My message has remained the same. We need to change the way we treat each other and the planet. Fast forward to 2025. I've spent the last 45 years pushing for climate action, electoral reform, and an end to militarism. In that time, I've seen Canada and the world descend into climate catastrophe, American imperialism, and transnational oligarchy. In June, I decided that if change was going to come, it had to grow from the ground up. Our campaign started small. An email to my personal contacts, a Zoom meeting with some passionate volunteers from across the country. We had a goal, 4 R's: representation, regeneration, redistribution, and redesign. We had a vision of a Canada that works for the people and the planet. Our movement started catching on. Canadians needed hope, and they found it in our message. We had lows.
Do not donate to the Tony McQuail campaign now.
And highs.
I want to be Prime Minister because I want to work with these people on the ideas they have to move this country forward.
Through cooperation and collaboration, we built community and demonstrated what it means to be New Democrats. We came from humble beginnings, but again and again showed that hope, integrity, and compassion mean far more than profile. Thanks to incredible volunteers, generous donors, and support from Team Tanille and the other candidates, we are on the ballot. From Montreal to Vancouver, our messages remain the same. It's not too late to change the way we treat each other and the planet.
I'm going left.
There are many reasons why I'm Tony's campaign manager, such as the fact that as a New Democrat, I have a tendency to root for the underdog. And Tony's an underdog who's unapologetically himself and refuses to pretend to be anything else other than who he is. And that's how our party ought to be. But above all the reasons, one stands out due to its increasing relevance as fascism spreads its tendrils across our continent and throughout the globe. We must ask questions other than, how do we defend our borders and our economy? We must also ask, how do we defend our democracy? Because fascism taking over Canada does not necessarily look like an invasion of American troops on our soil or our cities being bombed, but instead an invasion of fascist and authoritarian tactics being co-opted by Canadian politicians. Proportional representation is essential to protect our democracy, but we must not stop there. Before our eyes, we are seeing our democracy federally and provincially erode, such as the $1 per vote subsidy that was removed by the Harper government in 2015, thereby requiring all federal parties to rely 100% on donors to survive. In Alberta, Danielle Smith is sending Albertans to the polls for 9 referendum questions, one of which decides whether voters will need to bring a birth certificate or a passport to the polls. In Ontario, Doug Ford has raised fundraising limits so his wealthy donors can give him more money, and he has scrapped fixed election dates altogether. And Doug's buddy, Mark Carney, seeks to acquire a phony backroom deal majority through any opposition MP that wants to hop over the aisle. In a minority government situation, or in any situation, proportional representation must be our top priority. But I'll say this again, we must not stop there. We must ensure that all Canadians can and do vote. We must fight back against every erosion of our democratic rights. And we must bring back the $1 per vote subsidy. As we've seen, south of the border, democratic backsliding starts very slowly in the form of small erosions over time. But as we all know, they add up to something terrible eventually. Without a healthy democracy, we will not have universal health care for much longer, nor will we ever have affordability, nor will we have a strong labor movement, nor any working class leaders left in Parliament. And I say this all, not to depress you, I promise, but to motivate you. The goal shouldn't be just proportional representation. It should also be healing the wounds of democratic erosion and preventing any further backsliding. That'll take a lot of work. Work that I know we're all very capable of. Whether you're a New Democrat living in Saskatchewan, a Liberal in Alberta, a Conservative in downtown Winnipeg, a Green in Thunder Bay, or a member of the Bloc in Westmount, your vote should count. A Canada with a vibrant democracy where the 99% get 99% of the vote and the 1% get 1% of the vote, instead of our current Canada where democracy is under attack. All of this is a beautiful dream, but it cannot be just a dream. So we must task ourselves, not just as New Democrats, but as concerned citizens, to ensure that a healthy democracy is instead our future. So without further ado, I am incredibly proud and honored to invite my friend Tony McQuail to the stage.
Optimism's better than despair. So let us be loving. Let us be hopeful, friends. My friends, it is good to be with you here in Winnipeg and digitally across the country. We gather today on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional homeland of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and the Dene peoples, and the Métis Nation. I want to say plainly that a party serious about redistribution and regeneration cannot treat this acknowledgement as a formality. The land beneath our feet is the first and most enduring reminder that there is work still to be done. We stand on the shoulders of those who've come before us, J.S. Woodsworth, Agnes McPhail, Tommy Douglas, and the folks who built the Cooperative Commonwealth Federation and the New Democratic Party. Je suis devenu néo-démocrate à cause des New Démocrates que j'ai rencontrés dans ma communauté et à cause de Ed Broadbent. Today, we are in a struggle for all life on this planet. Corporate capitalist consumerism is shredding the fabric of existence. War is its inevitable outcome. I have spent my entire life under the threat of mutually assured destruction. Military spending has diverted trillions from addressing human needs while making the world less safe for people and the planet. I wonder what the world would be like if we had tried mutually assured success and survival. Yeah, wouldn't that have been interesting? Military spending creates scarcity in the face of abundance. It means not investing in healthcare, education, housing, transportation. It means not investing in the transition to a green and just society. Earth's greatest enemy is war. J.S. Woodsworth warned us plainly, war settles nothing. The victor wins only by adopting the same tactics he condemns in his enemy, and his conclusion should stop us cold. Quote, "The common people of the country gain nothing by slaughtering the common people of any other country, end quote. With the rise of fascism south of the border, we need a nonviolent national defense strategy and program. It is delusional to think that Canada will militarily stop the United States by increasing military spending. It will only tie us tighter to the US military. We need to train Canadians in the techniques of unarmed civilian defense. It is more effective than military resistance. It is also more useful for responding to climate emergencies like floods, wildfires, ice storms, and tornadoes. It is a much wiser investment than military spending. As a young farmer, I watched the Liberals and Conservatives maintain and defend a brutal high interest rate policy, supposedly to fight inflation. But the inflation was caused by massive oil price increases. High interest only worsened it. Homeowners, farmers, and small businesses were now getting robbed on their mortgages as well as at the gas pumps. The Liberals and Conservatives were enriching the banks and the wealthy at the expense of the people. Amen. And look to the current situation closely. Ed Broadbent and the NDP were the only party addressing the root cause of the problem and calling for investment in conservation, efficiency, and renewable energy. If our electoral system had been proportional in 1980, the NDP, led by Ed Broadbent, would have held the balance of power, and I believe we could have begun the transition to a greener and more progressive society. Instead, the Liberals got a phony majority government, and we are still addicted to oil and concentrating wealth in fewer and fewer hands. It was Tommy Douglas who showed us what is possible when a government decides to act. In 1939, Canada mobilized an entire economy for war. 1 million people in uniform, over 100 crown corporations, guaranteed prices for farmers and fishermen, the third largest merchant navy in the world, and all of it without borrowing a single dollar outside Canada, using the Bank of Canada for what it could do. His message was simple. If we could do all of that to defeat Nazi tyranny, we can mobilize those same resources to defeat poverty, unemployment, and social injustice. It is in that same spirit that our campaign has stressed 4 Rs: representation, regeneration, redistribution, and redesign. They need to be our focus to build a Canada that works for people and the planet. Our choices as individuals and as governments create the future we will share. We need to unite not just New Democrats, but a broad, green, progressive coalition with a vision of a hopeful future. That's why we put forward a holistic goal for Canada. It says, quote, "We seek a quality of life where we meet the basic needs for water, food, shelter, clothing, healthcare, and education for every Canadian resident, where everyone has access to fresh air, clean water, and healthy green space. Everyone has time and energy for themselves, their families, their friends, and their occupation. Everyone has an opportunity to contribute and be involved in their community. We envision a Canada that is caring and compassionate, both for its residents at home and to the broader world community. We make decisions carefully, considering their impact on the planet, the people, and the economy. The earth is healing, communities are thriving, and conflict at home and abroad is decreasing. That is our vision for a future that works for people and the planet." My friends, we need to work together with others within and beyond Canada to address obscene wealth concentration and environmental destruction. But we also need to work together within our party. We've had 5 teams in this race and 2 candidates excluded by our opaque vetting process. All have worked hard for 6 months. That's a long time and a huge commitment of effort and energy. I have been so impressed with each of the candidates and their campaign teams. I want to say to Team Tony, you've given so much of yourselves to bring our campaign to this finish line, and I feel both honored and humbled by that. I thank you. But to all our teams, to all the teams, if you do not win tomorrow, grieve that loss, shed some tears, and then think about how we can come together to bring all that talent and energy into a bigger, broader team that can truly challenge the 1%'s control of Canadian politics, our economy, and our society. My friends, it's not too late to build a better world, but we need bold, brave, and beautiful alternatives to a world being burned and blown apart by greed, coupled with economic arrogance and ecological ignorance. It's time for a green progressive movement. It's time for representation, regeneration, redistribution, and redesign. Merci pour votre appui pour amener ces idées sur la scène nationale. Thank you for your shared commitment as New Democrats to building that better world together. Thank you all. Take care.
Bonjour. Hello. Gilakasla. Je m'appelle Joëlle Sanson et j'ai l'honneur de vous présenter le candidat de la chefferie du NPD du Canada, Tanille Johnston. My name is Joelle Sampson, and I have the honor of introducing federal leadership candidate for the NDP, Tanile Johnston. Before I go further, I want to take a moment and acknowledge that we are gathered on Treaty 1 territory, at the crossroads of the Red and Assiniboine rivers, in a historic gathering place for the Anishinaabe, Inayawak, Anishinaabe, Dakota Ote, and Dene Sulene, and in the birthplace and homeland of the Red River Métis. Nous reconnaissons aussi que l'eau fraîche que nous boivons dans cet édifice vient du Shoal Lake 40, qui est situé dans le territoire du traité numéro 3. When Tanille asked me to introduce her here on this stage, I was really flattered, but mostly I was super surprised. First, nobody knows me here. I was born in Gatineau, and raised, and raised mostly in BC. I'm a longtime NDP voter, union activist, mother of 2 lovely Indigenous children, librarian by trade. Yeah, I was hoping. But the reason I'm here is I'm Tanille's friend. Yeah. And as Tanille's friend earlier this year, I told her not to enter this race. This suggestion was absolutely not a reflection of Tanille's ability, grit, and determination. I knew she would kick ass. The suggestion came from one of concern for my dear friend, who had just ran a grueling campaign in North Island Powell River just a few months before. I knew that Tanille would give this leadership race her all, like she does in every aspect of her life. And I was concerned for her, but I was wrong, and I am so happy to admit that I was wrong. Born and raised in Campbell River, BC, from the Wiwe-Kai First Nation, Tanille possesses a tirelessness that is unmatched. She is compassionate, enthusiastic, and extremely intelligent. She is exactly what this party needs to rebuild and come out stronger than ever before. Not long ago, when I was marveling at all that Tanille takes on, from fostering youth in her home while serving multiple communities through her work, raising 2 small children, and being the only progressive voice on a pugnacious city council, among a bunch of other things, she explained that that's how she wants to show up in this world. And man, does she ever show up. Traveling to urban and rural centers alike, her aim as a politician is to hear from folks around the country, to understand the issues that are most important to them, and then piece together creative solutions. And that's what we need, a tireless, creative thinker who truly cares about the people she represents. Quand Tanille a pris sa décision finale de se lancer dans la course de la chefferie, la toute première chose qu'elle m'a dit, c'est qu'elle avait besoin d'apprendre le français. Ce n'est pas une langue facile à apprendre, mais son enthousiasme est contagieux et elle ne fait jamais les choses à la moitié. Et c'est ça qu'on a besoin comme chef de la NPD. Quelqu'un qui est infatigable, créatif et soucieuse du bien-être de tout qui vit au Canada. I am proud to call Tanille my friend, and I am even prouder of all that she has done throughout this campaign and what she will continue to do for our country. Please join me in welcoming the formidable Tanille Johnston.
And the first Indigenous person to ever appear on a federal political party leadership ballot in Canadian history. It's not just about representation. We live in Canada, one of the wealthiest G7 countries in the world, yet we have people across Canada that are struggling just to get their basic needs met. This leadership race is a real change, and I'm here to shake things up.
Hello, Canada's New Democrats. What is up? How are we this morning? So if you haven't heard, I am Tanille Johnston. I'm a proud Licklistuff woman from the Winnipeg First Nation. I am a social worker, a mom, and a Campbell River City Councillor. And I am so incredibly proud to stand before you, not only as the first Indigenous woman to run for federal leadership, but the first Indigenous person ever to be on a federal leadership ballot. And I am so incredibly grateful that that piece of political history now lives with the NDP. So I want to start a little bit backwards. I want to start with what's truly most important in this work, and that is an absolutely huge thank you to you, the membership. Without you, there is no party. There is no movement. So thank you to the tirelessness of the volunteers that have worked unfathomable hours across these leadership campaigns, to the friends, family members that have taken on additional loads while we as candidates have been rushing across the country to do our best to ensure that you, the members, know that the House of Commons ain't seen nothing yet. Okay, so I really want to get you guys going. We've got a little bit of a game, and I hope you like it, so get ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer you a line from one of my fellow candidates and see if you can guess who I'm talking about. Okay, ready? Are you ready? Okay. Go, first one. Representation, regeneration, redistribution, and redesign. Tony. We need proportional representation. Ah, tricky. Good, it should be, because I feel we all want proportional representation. Okay, ready? Look, listen, I know how to beat conservatives. Heather McPherson, woo! We need an electric bus revolution. Avi! Okay. Polyera is slicker than snot. Rob Ashton! I'm here to smash glass ceilings. Woo! Thank you. So when we launched this campaign, the political insiders and talking heads ignored us. They cut us out thinking a rural campaign from almost as far west as you can get from the center of the universe on Vancouver Island could never make waves on the national stage. They underestimated exactly who we are and the strength of the grassroots. I love being able to say, hey, still here. We have prioritized voices that are often heard last or not at all. We have walked our talk. We've gone rural. We did campus clubs first. We maintain our presence on the debate stages at every opportunity. And we did it with a campaign fueled entirely by everyday people. Joelle says she doesn't know why I asked her, but you guys all know damn right why I asked her. Right? Yeah, no? Uh-huh. Librarian? Yes. Everyday person. Champion. That's what the NDP is made of. That's who we are. So despite the cost of the entry fee, we raised over the six figures from thousands of individual donations, from little tiny ones. I met a student when I was at Western University who offered me a $5 donation on the spot because that's all that they could afford. And I want that person to know that that moment has not escaped me. It was both heartbreaking and such an honor at the same time. Now, I'm not someone that grew up with a silver spoon in my mouth. I've worked long and hard my entire life. My dad was a mine worker, and my mom ran a small business. They absolutely taught me and demonstrated for me what hard work looks like. They showed me the reality of what you need to do to strive to be successful in this world. I got my start in politics from fighting in the student movement at the University of Victoria. And I know some of my fellow students are here today. Fighting for, yes, free post-secondary education. My 20-year battle. Tuition freezes, sounding familiar. East Coast, you know where it's at. Carpooling from Vancouver Island over to UBC to push back and show up against anti-abortion movements. As a social worker, I've spent my career fighting against systems at every level that are built to keep people struggling, built to increase the divide from the 1% to everybody else. As a city councillor, sitting at a table of conservatively aligned councillors, I see the disregard for the value of our arts and culture community and a classist approach to decision making. And this is not what the future of our country looks like. The future of our country does not look like big banks making $200 million a day while you struggle to put food on the table. It does not look like big oil and wealthy CEOs writing the rules while everyday people pay the price. It does not look like continuing to pump $30 billion a year into fossil fuel grants while watching our earth burn and our watersheds be threatened. And it absolutely does not look like our nations across the country living in third world conditions in our country without drinking water, without roads, without access to health care. I'm running because I believe in unapologetic dedication to our own path on the left. And you'll notice what side of the room I came in on. Intentional, friends. I believe in an unwavering dedication to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. We as the NDP should be championing democracy both inside and outside of ourselves. This looks like accessibility at conventions, and I know you've heard that today. This looks like ensuring our commissions have what they need to feed the momentum of our party in an inclusive way. This also looks like ensuring that all Canadians have ballot boxes in not only geographically and physically accessible spaces, but spaces that they identify as safe. There are numerous nations across this country that do not and have never had a ballot box in their community, and we need to support our electoral bodies to ensure that ballot boxes are where they need to be to support democracy in our country. Our campaign for federal NDP leadership sees our future Canada, our tomorrow Canada, as one that brings forward policies that fundamentally change the well-being of people's lives. A guaranteed livable basic income to end poverty in Canada. A real wealth tax so that billionaires finally pay their fair share back to communities. A federal housing authority that builds mass co-op, truly affordable public housing so that everyone has a place to call home. And yes, folks, I'm going to end my 20-year battle and get free post-secondary education so young people can build a future without drowning in massive debt before they start their careers. We're going to do mass, right now, investment in renewable energy. And why not start with the east-west energy grid and plant that beginning in our Atlantic provinces? We must fund wages and healthcare coverage for workers that are moving from their finite industries into these renewable ones. This means wage and coverage that matches while folks are retraining or upgrading to enter their new beautiful green unionized career. As your leader, we are going to move beyond empty promises on reconciliation. We are going to build real nation-to-nation relationships and keep fighting for our rights to be backed by actual laws and sustainable budgets. We're going to close the infrastructure gap. We're going to support Indigenous entrepreneurs. We're going to create hundreds of thousands of good union jobs all along the way. Because justice must show up in the budget. Our future looks very bright, doesn't it? So for those who love policy, I'm going to give you one more. 4-day work week. So for us to win these fights and get all this beautiful stuff moving in Canada, we need a party that honors its roots in the working class, our farmers, labor, while being radically accessible to everybody else. We need free NDP memberships so that a paywall is not the barrier for folks joining our movement. We need to welcome the youth through providing paid internships where they can guide our policies and election strategies. We need the over 20% of our population that lives with a disability to have a place in leadership in our party. Our work must be informed by persons living with disabilities to ensure that we're ditching ableist policies and bringing forward inclusion. Let's have ongoing and supported organizing capacity in our ridings every single day of the year, not just election day. Just like how Rob does it here in Manitoba. Old establishment wants you to believe that things can't change. This is the way we need to do it. They use fear and power to make us settle for the status quo. However, I am a stubborn optimist, and I believe in the power of community, the power of our movement. We now have a chance to write a brand new chapter for our new Democratic Party, a new era. An era where we lead with courage, integrity, and moral clarity. An era where we will be unstoppable. My campaign has led a movement that is rocking the balance of power into the hands of everyday people. We want a leader who listens. We do, if you want me, which is what I'm supposed to tell you. If you want a leader who listens, who turns the hope that you've been asked to have for decades into actual action, who truly believes we can win on our progressive values, I'm asking for your support. I'm asking for your number one on your ballot today. Bringing these little babies out. This is who we're working for, folks. These are our country's next leaders. Let's ensure that our governments see them. This has been an unforgettable experience. Getting to run for federal leadership, I am so honored to be here as your NDP candidate. Kayla Keslau, merci, thank you so much.
when I think about my brother, Rob Ashton, I think about the very first time I ever met Rob. It was standing near the docks where he has spent his life working and representing longshore workers in Vancouver. And I asked Rob, what gets you out of bed in the morning to do the work that you do as president of the International Longshore Workers in Canada? And he said to me, "Bea, it is important to me every morning when I get up that I represent my members so that they can go to work and be treated with respect and dignity, that they are not left to face the boss alone." He said, "It's incredibly important to me that they get to go home from work at the end of the day in the same healthy state, psychologically and physically, as they got to work that morning." And he said, "It's important to me that every single day that we're fighting for fair wages, benefits, pensions, so that people can retire with dignity. And it's important to me, as Rob Ashton, that we actually build community, that my members can access the strong public services in our communities that we need. And it's important that in the face of automation threatening my industry, that my members know that they will have workplaces for generations to come." My friends, that is what Rob Ashton brings for all workers in Canada. That is his intention, to fight for every single worker, no matter what sector of the economy and no matter where we are in this beautiful country of ours. But you know, my brother Rob Ashton has more than fierce labor values. You know, when Rob heard that a drag story hour at the public library was going to be interrupted by right-wing fascists, you know what he did? He said, "Hell no, not on my watch." And he brought a bunch of those dock workers to make sure that everybody can go and be respected and be safe and enjoy story hour at the library. Those are the fierce values that my brother has. He has a huge heart, and he can speak, oh my God, any picket line, any of us who have seen him, he stands up and defends workers. But you know, the most important thing to me when I think about Rob is that as a union leader, I know that he passes the lunchroom test. And we in the labor movement know that lunchroom test. You gotta walk into that lunchroom and give people bad news. You gotta walk into that lunchroom and make sure that you can inspire people and that you can give them the pathway to finding a better solution to the issues. My brother Rob can pass that lunchroom test every day of the week. He is the real deal. I have seen him at meetings with government and at meetings where the highest-ranking CEOs of corporations are sitting at the table trying to tell us that banning scab labor would hinder the economy. And I've seen him get irate at those meetings and basically use some choice words because he knows that the dignity of workers should never be sidelined. That is who Rob Ashton is. My brother lives and breathes labor values, and we need a worker leading our party. And I know Rob is going to kick ass for the working class. And I'm proud now to introduce Alyssa, Marty, Benita, and Rob Ashton.
Rob, a lot of young people my age feel like the future is getting harder. Buying homes feels out of touch, school is expensive, and good jobs we can build a life on don't feel accessible anymore. At the same time, a lot of us feel like politics happen above our heads. We know things need to change, but it doesn't always feel like we have real power in the decisions that affect our lives. So how do we change that? What would you do as a leader to make young people believe again that the NDP can actually work for us and make us want to participate?
Thanks, Ali. So first off, young people aren't disengaged with politics. They've been pushed out. They've been ignored and not listened to. And so the first thing that we have to do as a party is we have to give them a seat at the table. We have to bring them along and listen to them and listen to what they want us to fight for. And if that includes a home that they can live on in co-op style builds. Tanille said it earlier, free tuition for when you go to school. and a good union job so that maybe one day, if you're hungry, you might be able to buy a steak and have something to eat. But definitely giving them a seat at the table in our party.
As someone who knows you personally, I've seen how much you care about fairness. A lot of young people, especially from marginalized communities, are told to be patient while systems slowly change. Why should we believe things will actually move faster under your leadership? And beyond representation, what real concrete changes would you push for so people actually feel the difference in their daily lives? How would you make sure that voices that are usually left out, especially young people, are actually shaping the direction of the party? What kind of country do you hope my generation will inherit?
So when it comes to the first part of your question about marginalized workers, patience is not a virtue. So that means we have to gain power because the ruling class will drag their feet every chance that they can get to hold us back. We need to gain power so that our voices can be heard. We need to listen to young people. We need for you to be a part of the decision making. The type of world that I want to leave for you and others is one with free education, one with homes that you can afford, good union jobs, a life free of hate and full of hope, man.
Thanks, Rob. Rob, this convention comes at a really important moment for working people and for our party. Last election, just like the election before, steelworkers were knocking on doors, and it was frustrating as we found that the strong NDP strongholds often were heading toward the Conservative Party, especially in our northern communities and in the industrial and resource regions where our members live and work. Why are working class voters drifting away? Is it not because it's not because the values have changed, their values have changed, but because they don't see the NDP delivering for them? And why are more starting to feel Conservatives are fighting harder for them in their workplaces and they're in touch? As a party founded on labor, rebuilding it, and the trust in workers is essential for our future. So what's your plan to win those voters back, especially workers in industries and resource communities? And what would you do different than today to build the NDP?
Thanks, Marty. Early on in the beginning of my campaign, I met a lot of your members. I met them in the Sioux, and in Sudbury, in Brantford, in British Columbia, and they say the same thing. They don't hear themselves in our party anymore, the working class, the workers in your mills and in your mines. And that's the problem, because Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party, all they deliver is slogans. They deliver slogans that are filled with hate and vile. And this is something that we have to defend against by getting into your memberships, into the lunchrooms, not only in your mines and your mills, but into hospitals and on shop floors in schools. To talk to members, to listen to them, and to fight for them, and to look them in the eyes squarely so that they believe and we can earn their trust back, and we can fight for what they need.
Thank you. Excellent. Next question. Leadership is going to define what comes next for the NDP, not just in terms of policy, but how we show up and how we listen and how we stand up for working people in the communities where we've lost so much ground. You've spent years leading a union and building trust from the ground up and standing up for workers in tough fights. How has that experience shaped your leadership, and what will you do that will be in terms of the bottom-up membership growth, fighting the leadership to help the NDP win back those voters that have strayed away.
I talked about it earlier, and it's about building trust. We were given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. It's so that we can listen to people. And we can listen and hear what they need in their communities. And we can organize our communities through our EDAs and our communities so that we can fight for what people need in those communities. And we're going to. That's why we're going to change the membership of the NDP. We're going to have a membership-driven party, a party led by the EDAs, not by the leader, and not by the leader's office, Marty. And that's how we're going to regain trust and refocus our party. So, Benita.
Yes, Rob.
My turn to ask a question.
Oh, my.
So you've been a working class representative for quite a few years now. You've represented people at municipal levels and in Parliament Hill. So what do you think? How do you think this party can change to what we need?
Well, I'm sitting beside you for a reason, Rob. I'm so happy to see the focus back on workers and the working class. I have heard you say, thank you. I have heard you say so many times, and I had the honor of working with you many times when I was on the Hill, and I've heard you say so many times that division is the work of the corporate class. It is not the work of the working class. And you mentioned it, and it was mentioned today around hate, and I guess unity is something that I care about deeply, and everyone in this room cares about deeply, is like, how do you see unity happening in this party going forward?
Thanks, Benita. The beauty of this party, the beauty of the NDP is we're a vast array of society. We got workers, we've got environmentalists, we got people that want to fight for social justice causes around the world. We've got people that are on disability benefits, that is legislated poverty, and it's shameful and something that we have to deal with immediately when we eventually win office in Ottawa. But I'll tell you what, when we go in those back rooms and we talk about our issues, and we sit around that table, and we make a decision, and we walk out those doors, if we didn't get our own way, we can't pick up our toys and leave the sandbox of life. We got to be united as one and push that message forward until we win the day.
And you know, I've seen you do that. I've seen you do that. I know that you can win those fights in the face of the corporate class. The corporate class that is something that we need to push back on hard. So I wonder if you could just share some of the work that you've done in that area in your career.
You bet. I got a real quick story, which I'm getting used to saying really quick stories, is a number of years ago, the Vancouver Fraser Port Authority decided to build this terminal called Roberts Bank Terminal 2. They wanted to put a piece of land in the middle of the ocean and have it fully automated. And we were walking down the path, my union, to push it back to save jobs. The environmental movement was walking down a different path in the same direction, trying to shut it down to save the environment. And then one day I was actually in a graveyard looking for a family plot in Saskatchewan at about 6 feet of snow. And I got a phone call, and it was an environmental group, and they said, "Hey, Rob, do you want to work together to push this back?" I said, "Hell yeah, I do." Our paths moved, and we marched down the same path to fight the bastards. We pushed it off. And what we did was we did something special because we did what the ruling class doesn't want us to do. We said no to division. And we joined forces. And we're still working together today because we can have open and hard conversations with each other.
Amazing. And that's why it's so great to be sitting beside you today, Rob. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Benita. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you all.
Hello, New Democrats. There has never been a more important time in our party's history.
We've gotten away from the grassroots of the NDP.
We need to put everyday people back at the center of the NDP.
The person that can bring labor back into our party is Rob Ashton.
At a time when working families need a clear, principled voice in Ottawa.
That's where Rob comes in. He speaks plainly, speaks honestly, and with integrity.
We need to be talking about economic issues.
At a time when things just seem a bit bleak out there, Rob offers hope.
I support Rob Ashton as leader of the NDP. Rob speaks about everything I want to hear from politicians and specifically putting power back into the hands of the working class.
Rob Ashton a toujours défendu les travailleurs et les communautés vulnérables.
J'habite dans le nord de l'Ontario avec ma famille. Il résonne avec les gens de type.
Rob stands up for workers, all workers, and that's because Rob is a worker.
Rob isn't just talking about the working class, he's part of it.
Rob is a voice for everyday people. He is the leader of today and the leader of tomorrow.
In the last election, I voted Conservative. But this time around, I'll be voting for Rob Ashton to be leader of the NDP.
I've known Rob for a number of years, seen him on lots of picket lines, supporting everybody.
Rob is a terrific leader. He knows what it's like to get your hands dirty.
He stands up for working people in his everyday life.
And I really believe he is the one that is best equipped to meet this challenge.
Je l'ai rencontré. Il a de la compétence, il a du jugement et il a du cœur.
Rob is a tireless advocate for workers whose leadership has been proven time and again.
In these uncertain times, Rob's knowledge, his compassion, and his willingness to stand up to corporate greed are what we need.
We need working people at the center, not the margins.
He's the only one who can implement a strategy that the NDP really needs right now, and that's why Rob Ashton is my guy.
Rob speaks bluntly about the power imbalance against the working class and always prioritizes the impact on Canadian workers.
We need someone here and all over the country who is going to be able to fight Tories, take them on and win.
Nous avons bâti ce pays, nous avons bâti le parti, c'est maintenant notre tour de le diriger.
Workers built this country.
We built this country.
Workers built this country.
We built this party.
We built this party.
Workers built this party.
And it's time we took it back.
On doit parler des vraies affaires. Chers néo-démocrates, joignez-vous à moi et votons Rob Ashton comme leader du NDP. Bonjour néo-démocrates! Good morning, New Democrats! Je m'appelle Tanille Johnston, je suis conseillère municipale à Gatineau. C'est un honneur pour moi d'être ici encore une fois sur cette belle grande scène. Puis honnêtement, waouh, quelle énergie dans la foule aujourd'hui! Ouais! Il y a 3 ans, j'étais avec vous pour vous parler de la représentation des femmes puis des jeunes en politique. Un sujet qui me touche personnellement puis qui me tient à cœur. Mais aujourd'hui, je suis avec vous pour vous parler d'un autre sujet, de l'espoir. De l'espoir que j'ai en notre capacité de rebâtir notre parti. Parce que oui, le défi est grand. Mais ensemble, on est capable de le relever. And there is hope in this room today. Cet espoir, je le vois en Rob Ashton. Un gars qui est vrai, un leader qui est proche du monde, quelqu'un qui comprend ce que vivent les familles, les jeunes, les aînés. Puis si on veut gagner, si on veut rebâtir, si on veut reconnecter avec tout le monde, il faut avoir Rob. Que ce soit dans les villes, dans les banlieues industrielles, dans les régions et dans le Nord. Ça nous prend un leader qui a déjà mené ces combats-là et qui sait comment les gagner. Rob est ce leader. He's the future of our movement, grounded in our roots, a leader who's ready to fight for the people and to win. Alors, mes amis, c'est avec une immense fierté que je vous présente mon choix comme chef du NPD, Rob Ashton!
Merci Tiffany. Salut Néo-Démocrates! My name is Rob, and I'm a proud dock worker from British Columbia, and it's good to be here with you today. Over the past few months, I've had the privilege of speaking with members new and lifelong, from coast to coast to coast and everywhere in between. And in those conversations, one thing became very clear. It's a mistake to underestimate New Democrats. Reports of our demise have been greatly exaggerated by the media. Just look around this room, my friends. We're here because we believe in each other. We're here because we believe in something better. When things aren't fair, we don't look away, we step up. When people are being left behind, we stand up and fight back. That's what this movement's about. Standing shoulder to shoulder with the people who actually create the wealth in this country. Taking on power so the next generation can have it better than we did. If there's one thing I know, it's this. When we stand together, we win. My friends, I believe in this party. I believe in what we built. And I believe the best is still ahead. Because right now, Canadians need us more than ever. They're feeling the pressure on their bills, their jobs, their futures. And they're looking for a party that understands what they're going through. And we are that party. But we have to be honest. That's not how folks see us. You see, somewhere along the way, we lost that connection. Too many working class Canadians stopped seeing themselves in us. Not because they stopped sharing our values, but because they stopped seeing themselves in our party. We could fix that, and we will. Because we owe it to them. Because Canadians deserve a real choice. One that puts people over profits, that looks out for one another, and fights for real solutions that actually make a difference in people's lives. Because this party was built by the working class, for the working class, and that's not just our history. That has to be our future. This is our moment to rebuild this organization, to reconnect with the people this party was created to fight for. And I'm hopeful because I've seen what we're capable of. On picket lines, in communities across this country, when we come together with purpose and determination, we don't just fight, we win. We built this country, every bridge, every road, every school, every home, every hospital. We built this party! So let's rebuild it together. Bring it back to the people, back to the communities we're meant to serve. Back to being a real movement driven by the people who keep this country running every day. If you're ready to meet the moment, if you're ready to take the challenge head on, if you're ready to move forward, then join me and let's get to work. My friends, I'm going to close this campaign the way I started. When we're done being on the menu, and we're done with the ruling class eating us alive. It's time we take our seats at the table and eat the damn rich!
was always a fighter. She and her brothers grew up knowing hard work means something. You show up, you treat people with respect, you take care of your family, you look out for our neighbors. You don't quit. One thing about my daughter, Heather, she doesn't quit.
Our table was always full. There was always an extra chair if someone needed it, and if there wasn't, you just squeezed in a little closer. That's how we did things. Heather grew up with that. She learned early that there's always enough when you share, and that no one should be left standing on the outside. I watched her carry that her whole life. In everything she does, she's still making room for people.
My mom worked hard and always supported everything my brother and I did. Early mornings at the pool, late nights on the ice. She was there. And she'd make breakfast for half the neighborhood who would just show up. Because that's who she is. Ma mère se bat pour nous depuis toujours. Et depuis que je suis petite, je sais qu'elle se bat pour tout le monde. She doesn't know how to stop. It drives me a little crazy. But it's also why I am so proud of her.
The Liberal Party, the Conservative Party, refuses to talk about human rights in Yemen because both of them are implicit in the selling of arms to the regime that is propping up that war. It is not all right that neither one of them will talk about human rights in Palestine, that children in Palestine are being murdered, and that neither of these parties will talk about that.
I've known Heather a very long time, before any of this, before she was a member of Parliament, before the campaigns where she was knocking on every door in the constituency. In the movement, Heather was building something in Alberta that nobody thought was possible. She was bringing people together who didn't always agree. She was building consensus among them, and she was inspiring cooperation. And in Alberta, Heather was doing the patient, meticulous work of creating change. She's been doing this work her whole life, and Parliament just gave her a bigger room. Heather is the perfect woman for this job.
I've watched Heather fight for fairness and human rights across Canada and around the world. I've watched her fight for Palestinians, Ukrainians, Afghans, and Sudanese, and I've seen her bring people together to find solutions, to use her seat in the House of Commons to effect real change, and to push our caucus, our party, and the government to take action no one thought possible. Heather never backs down from a challenge, and she refuses to turn her back on injustice, no matter where it occurs.
Bonjour tout le monde. My name is Amanda Freistad. I use she and her pronouns. I believe in action over promises. I've spent 20 years as a builder in this party, in Saskatchewan as treasurer, as a federal councillor, as a Labour VP, EPC chair, CRO, CETA in Alberta, and as a trade unionist. From healthcare to telecom, to retail, to heavy equipment, I've been a union staffer who builds action on shop floors, and I've done it across this entire country. J'appuie Heather parce que ce qui compte, c'est l'action. Elle agite pour les travailleuses et les travailleurs. Heather shows up on the picket lines in the dark and in the cold. She shows up in the House of Commons, tabling and supporting legislation to protect and expand workers' rights. And she understands that solidarity means more than talk. It's taking our issues to Parliament and fighting for us there. Heather is a builder. And with Heather as leader, we will keep building the whole party and for all working Canadians. At the launch of her campaign, the president of the Edmonton CUPW local endorsed her from the stage and said, "I support those who support the working class, and Heather has my support." I could not have said it better myself.
involved in this campaign because of what Heather stands for. I asked my friends to describe her in one word. Here's what they had to say. Tenacious, principled, fierce, a fighter and a builder. All true. But for me, she's already a leader. I'm part of a generation that's been told to wait our turn on housing, on climate, on building a future that we can actually count on. Too many politicians say they care and then they move on. Heather is different. She puts people in the room who don't usually get to be there, and then she listens to them. She wants us to build something for ourselves, not to make herself look good, not to take credit, but so we can find our own places. That's not a small thing. That's leadership. And that's exactly what this party needs right now.
Hey, my friends, I'm so sorry I can't be at the convention with you. I'm Charlie Angus, and I'm on the road with the resistance. I just want to say, I've traveled this country from one end to the other, and I'm so inspired by the determination of Canadians to take control of our future. But I'm also seeing great uncertainty at this time, the uncertainty of the threats on our border, the uncertainty of economic pressure on young people, the threats of AI and the climate crisis. But what I know from this convention is we need to make a decision in our party about getting back in Parliament and being able to drive the agenda. That's why I'm on Team Heather McPherson. She has done the heavy lifting. She has done the work. She knows how to win. That's what we need. We need to get people back, and we need to win in this country. I leave it to you, my friends.
My friends, fellow New Democrats, across this country, provincial New Democrats defeat Conservatives. We defeat Liberals. And most importantly, we form governments. We do that carrying forward, holding true to the very same values as Canada's NDP. And we have always, as federal New Democrats, as provincial New Democrats, been at our strongest when we work together. When Jack Layton was leader, it might surprise people to know that we didn't necessarily agree on every policy, but we also knew that we had shared values. And Jack Layton, he never wrote any part of this country off. He wanted us to grow together because he knew we could. Heather McPherson intuitively understands that too. She naturally connects with people and instinctively shares her success with everyone around her to help build other people up. Even in the last election, she didn't hunker down to protect her own vote count in her own riding. Oh, no. She kept knocking on doors in other ridings across Alberta and indeed even in other provinces. That's who she is. She's a builder. Heather just doesn't just think about the next election. She builds for the next one, and she builds for the one after that and the one after that. And that's the real difference in this race. Heather understands we can only grow through addition, not division. And we can only win for the people who are counting on us when we build and we win together. Heather McPherson is a builder. She's been proving it her whole career. And that is why I am so proud to support her. And I am so deeply honored to introduce her to all of you. My friends, join me in welcoming Heather McPherson.
Merci. Thank you. Thank you. Everyone, from the beginning, this campaign has been about building a bigger table and making sure that there is a place for everyday Canadians to have a voice where laws are passed and where decisions are made. That's why workers and farmers came together to build our party, and it's why we need to rebuild it. Because right now across the country, people are struggling. Working people are feeling squeezed from every direction. We're seeing scapegoating, more division, too many people carrying more than their share of the weight. Conservative governments are attacking public health care like we haven't seen since Tommy Douglas and the NDP built it. They are trampling on workers' rights. They are rolling back the rights of the most vulnerable. That's right. And Donald Trump is a threat to our economy, to our sovereignty, and to our planet. Now is not the time for us to shrink even more. We haven't been losing support because our values are wrong. We just haven't always connected as well as we could. People just want to know who's on their side. And this weekend, together, New Democrats can show Canadians that we have their back. You know, I didn't grow up in a political family. My mom and dad worked hard. They're here today. But they did teach us to care for others and that you can always make more room at your table. And that idea stuck with me. You know, through 20 years of building coalitions with people that we don't always agree with, you know, fighting for human rights, showing up for those people that the system has left behind. In 2008, when I was door knocking with Linda Duncan in Edmonton, Strathcona, there it is, we earned support from people who hadn't voted NDP before. And when I ran in 2019, every news camera went to the Conservative campaign office to celebrate their victory. And when the results came in, they had to rush right back to our campaign headquarters. And they learned something. They learned something that everyone in this room knows. Never underestimate New Democrats. Ensemble, on peut faire encore tellement plus. Pour les familles, pour les travailleuses et les travailleurs. Pour tout le monde. Medicare, workers' rights, employment insurance, pension protection, human rights. So many of the things that make this country great, New Democrats built. That's why it's on us to defend them. You know, that's why holding a membership card should mean much more than getting fundraising emails. It is a symbol. It's a symbol of every one of your role in rebuilding our party. You know, of winning power back for the Canadians that are depending on us. Because as a political party, that's our job. You know, everyone deserves a home, not a tax loophole, not a vessel for corporate profiteering, a home. You know, reconciliation is a path that we need to actively take, not just talk about. We need to fix and expand public health care, dental care, mental health care. and pharmacare. Workers' rights need to be strengthened, not abandoned. And we need to protect public services, not cut them. Our future needs to be built here with Canadian materials and Canadian jobs, and a plan to address the climate crisis that workers can support because they are part of the solution. Not ignored. Not ignored, not patronized, or not treated like part of the problem. And Canada must be a voice for peace, for human rights, for international law, for standing with Ukraine, for standing for justice in Palestine. Here's what New Democrats stand for. A good job, a home you can afford, head-to-toe health care that you don't have to pay for ever. And a government that serves you, not the billionaires that these guys keep letting off the hook. And we need to be building a cleaner, brighter future for our kids with more hope, with more opportunity for everyone. En liberté, partout au pays, le Québec est au centre de ce travail. Je suis là et je vais rester là. Je vais être à l'écoute et ensemble, on va gagner pour les gens. You know, once after a tough election loss, Tommy Douglas quoted an old Scottish ballad. I am hurt, but I am not slain. Let me lie down and bleed a while, but then I'll rise and fight again. Friends, we are already fighting again. Right now, in British Columbia and Manitoba, we are governing. We are the official opposition in the Yukon, in Alberta, in Saskatchewan, in Ontario, in Nova Scotia. Across the country, our values are winning. And we can choose to ignore or even oppose that success, or we can build from it together. That's our solidarity. That is our strength. So if you're ready to rebuild our party, I'm asking for your support. Let's leave this convention re-energized and together, like those who have built and rebuilt the NDP before us, conversation by conversation, community by community, riding by riding. Let's make sure everyone has a seat at this table. I have a plan, I have a record, and I'm already doing the work. Thank you.
leadership candidates. And thank you, of course, to our incredible leadership contestants themselves. One final reminder for this Leadership Race 2026, is to cast your vote by 6 p.m. CT or 7 p.m. ET tonight. You can vote at vote.ndp.ca using the credentials you would have been sent by mail, email, by phone. And for those at the convention, if you want to vote in person, you can do that as well today. We have a leadership voting station behind the registration area in Hall C. There you can ask questions if you have any. You can get information about your credentials if you're unsure too. And there's a voting booth where you can cast your vote if you haven't already. It's really important to vote by 6 p.m. tonight. Every vote matters in determining the future of our party. Speaking of elections, I'd like to welcome our balloting co-chairs, Claire Parkin and Riley Shannon, who will announce the results of the regional elections.
Bonjour tout le monde, je m'appelle Claire Parkin.
And I am Riley Shannon. We are your balloting co-chairs.
Premièrement, en tant que vice-présidente du mouvement syndical, on a Siobhan Vipond.
Moving on to executive representatives, in the Atlantic, we have Meredith O'Hara and Michaela Gallant.
Pour le Québec, on a Mathieu Boisvert et Sabrina Payan-Smith.
For Ontario, we have Ali Chater and Janelle Brady.
Pour le Manitoba, on a Miranda Lawrence.
For Saskatchewan, we have Claire Card.
Pour l'Alberta, on a Paige Moniz.
For British Columbia, we have Angela Liu and Jane Liu.
Et pour le Nord, on a François Picard. Allons maintenant avec le Conseil. Pour l'île du Prince-Édouard, on a Jan Ticknor.
For New Brunswick, we have Iris Lloyd.
Pour la Nouvelle-Écosse, on a Matt Wynot.
For Newfoundland and Labrador, we have Kelly Codner.
Pour le Québec, on a Sasha Fusco-Miles.
For Ontario, we have Krista Lee Woodcock, Sam Hirsch, Mike Valesky, and Shahad Rashid.
Pour le Manitoba, on a Joanne Bjornson et Christopher Rigaud.
For Saskatchewan, we have Kathy Spruill and Talon Regent.
Pour l'Alberta, on a Kira Gunn, Bo Shaw, Erica Bullwinkle, and Leonard Zasidko.
For British Columbia, we have Brett Collins, Alex Chan, and Carrie Burchick.
Pour le Yukon, on a Saba Javed.
For Nunavut, we have Curtis Mesher.
Pour le territoire du Nord-Ouest, on a Nikolai Sitman.
Moving on to the regional women's representatives, for the Atlantic, we have Ingrid Dion and Lauren Scabar.
Pour le Québec, on a Karine Biano et Nikki de Rochy.
For Ontario, we have Sinead Alder and Hannah Tellier.
Pour le Manitoba, on a Laurie English.
For Saskatchewan, we have Chris